me see, start recording. I forgot about that. So, so this one, assignment 4 here. So as I mentioned, is basically focused on the work, okay, or on the picking your own projects, and it could be either one of your projects from the assignment 2 or 3, or completely new. But either way, it wouldn't be any advantage or disadvantage for that matter, because it's you relatively didn't do in the design part in assignment 2 and 3 that much. Okay, so that you get a full to get to do that quite more details, spend more time on it. Okay, but in terms of development components, okay, it's relatively similar. Question had come before from past semester that about it's more difficult or not. So essentially here, if you got application, in this case, is that you just need to do more than one interaction, active interaction. But in terms of build, relatively same. Okay, so you can see here number 1 software that is essentially the same. So you can use Vuforia, you can check out the device, or you can do on mobile phone, webcam. Everything's just like what we had before. Okay, so nothing fancy on that one. Okay. Now, the part in the assignment here, I'm going step 2 here in the general cover. So this one, if you look at the CIA, it has a bit more components similar to 2 and 3, but add component called evaluation. Okay, so you can see here up to ABC interactions are more or less the same with assignment 2 and 3. That's why I try to get assignment 2 and to you, so you get a sense of assignment 3 how to mark, and then that would be important thing to get it right in assignment 4. And one thing I should have mentioned is that this one has 2,000 words, so there's a lot more component to it. So our 4 students you should expect to get some hands-on experience on different components of your projects. Okay. And then the technical developments and this one. Sorry, my computer has been delayed. 2,000 words. Okay, so this one, make sure that you pay attention to that. There was a bit of that. It's plus or minus 10% is okay, so you don't have to check with me on that one. Okay, make sure the report is in PDF form. Okay, so the word can be a little bit kind of untidy. Okay. Now, the part that actually going to be quite significant difference is here. It's a user feedback in the section F. Okay, so that one is new. Okay, the rest of it are more or less similar. Okay, distribution slightly different based on our lecture 1 that I distributed from each lecture and how each assignments are composed for the entire unit. So this one is the last one, so the user feedback. So this one you're going to get your colleagues or your classmates to evaluate your system. Okay, this one tentatively put it in week 13, so during tutorial sessions. So you might be able to do something like that, and but this doesn't have to be within the sessions. Last semester completely not in the session, so you can do that. So that means you just make the software available, okay, and then people will test it, but you need to have prepare some testing the questions and things like that that actually prepare for them so that they can provide you the kind of useful feedback. Okay, so make sure you check out my lecture last week. Okay, so about usability. Okay, there was some details on that one. So as you can see here in question F here, number 1, design user, the design of the usability testing. Okay, so this one you need to think about application, how you want to design your testing would look like. Okay, so of course the physical testing probably not, you're not going to be able to do much because people will just download your software and then your friend will test it. Okay, but in terms of design, so what to ask, how to detail, what angle, because you're not going to have full application running, even though you have a project yet. Okay, so just try to be mindful. That's why when you move a little bit closer to week 13, you probably want to flick some question to me and things like that, or ask Ron or something like that during the next 2 or 3 weeks to try to get a sense of what you have. Okay, and then in the report in the section 2 here. So report the finding from the collected data. So let's say you'd run it. In this case, we expect you to kind of run approximately 3 people, 3 groups to test on your application. Okay, so and therefore you should have some relatively some good some result for you to explain. And then you analyze the findings. Okay, so in that case, you can put in analysis part, the average value, whether they are majorities, minorities, so that it depends on whatever static that you want to look at, how interesting. This part is really not a data science section. Okay, so you're not going to have quantitative information there. You probably just have a data point, okay, that you can talk about, but instead of do not try to attempt to analyze them at all. So this one is really just to make sure in CIA should reflect that as well. Okay. So the section G here, okay, so which is modification, is part of the user interface. Generally, this part is large in the actual project because one primary user feedback in the section step 7 here, modification is usually either mean very huge or very moderate. Larry become just a minor modification. But in your case here, modification could be anything up from real big bug fixing. Okay, that most likely you probably have to do that if your fundamental components are not working. So you get the feedback on that. But hopefully, before you do a user testing, you probably make sure there's no bugs. And we're not pushing the software to be sophisticated, so you should be able to transfer the skill that you have in your assignment 2 and 3, and then hopefully your software is not going to get so buggy. And then, but a lot of modification oftentimes in these assignments can land with something of people getting you kind of conceptually conceptually frames how you plan to address the comments, because sometimes most of the time you won't be able, unless it's bug fixing, you're most likely not going to have a time to do that, to do any real fixing things at all. So that means that you just have to think about how to basically address the user feedback. Sometimes user feedback will say, hey, these things are different, so I couldn't understand this part. So you just have to think about how to improve the understanding of that functionality. Okay. Again, this one is also linked to how you write about it. Okay, how you frame your usability questions that you're going to ask them. Okay, so don't ask them some simple thing like, do you like it or you don't like it? Okay, try to be more specific, even though, but recognize that your applications are not in fully developed. So that means there's just target questions could help you frame those parts, right? So for the part that is not complete, what you can describe to the tester is circumstance. You can describe scenario. Okay, scenario for them that just imagine this is this, and then this is a particular part of that small bit of the big part that you're trying to design, so they understand precisely the bit that they try to testing, instead of you just give them an application, know about the technology, what you offer to them, so they just keep playing and then discover that. So I think try to focus on this one, and you get a very useful information to them. And then as last 2 sections are really just complete a report. Okay, so that's basic conclusions and reference. Okay, again, the reference here on item number 2, there is that if you are actually using your group members, as I said earlier. Okay. So now let me go to see the CIA. Okay. Please allow me to go there. Give me a second. All right. So this is a CIA. Okay. I'll show you see the full screen. You can see the font class is more or less the same. Okay. Interaction design. Okay. So they are basically similar. Okay. Proportion of the mark is slightly different. Okay. Evaluations of applications. This is where it's completely new. So this one gonna take quite a significant part of your mark, 30%. Yeah, pay attention to that. Okay. And these evaluation here are combined between step 6 and 7. So that means you test evaluating and you're also addressing the feedback as well. Okay. And for the last two criteria here, technical developments and 3D models, they are straightforward. So anything that's working fine. So in this, except that the technical development here, we increase this to 2 active interaction. So that means in the previous two, you only limited, you only need to do 1. In this case, you do 2. Okay. So check with Ron and see what possibility that you might be able to add to the application. Okay, you did have a bit of time. Okay. I think the key for group project here is that it's a bit kind of difficult with the current COVID situation. That if you don't know each other, it's very difficult. You need to pay more attention how to work together as a group. Okay, so well, this is actually true for even before COVID, because when you get into a comfortable zone, you tend to not bring the best out of your of everyone in the group. So try to pay attention to that. So that means that you have the group there, and then you be able to divide the groups into the different jobs and things like that, and then you come and then reconvene and then work with Ron. This week is really going to be all about team formations and ideas. So you should be able to guide with step 1, identify what the problems are, and 2, what the interface is significant in that part. And number 3, you're working on how exactly either VR or AR technology you can apply to the specific domain that you select. Okay, and then hopefully by the end of the tutorial this week, you should be able to come up with some basic design your interaction, which is storyboard, drawing, and those kind of things. So for those of you who hear or listen to my recording here, pay attention that if you are more on tutorial later in the week, you shouldn't have to wait for that. You should just try to form the group now. Okay, so everything, the clock start today and finish in 4 weeks time. Okay, is that right? Yes. So 4 weeks time, yes, exactly 4 weeks time. So that means that don't wait for those, especially those on Friday, Thursday tutorials. So don't wait until you start your work there. Try to do as much as you can now and go into there. However, when Ron running it, he need to accommodate for those who actually still need help, more help in may even fire group to begin with. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Very glad to hear the Monday, the earlier session today went well. Okay, so everyone got a group, so everything's good to go. Okay, hopefully we have also same good progress this afternoon and tomorrow. Okay, but again, for those later in semester, please start early. Okay. All right, so this part is probably all I have to say for the assignment 4. Is there any questions that you want to raise now? You can put in the text or you can talk. All right, so no question then. Let me stop recording this one. Oh, sorry. Nathan, is it just one? Yes, that's correct. So this is one report for, one thing I should point out is that assignment now is you can see now it's appear now in your Milo as an individual group, but that's just because I don't know which group you are. So typically I use this as just like my message on the assignment itself. So use this to deliver the path, the assessments and the rubric. Okay. Once the group form, hopefully by the end of this week, then I basically put that group into a group submission, and then I will create an assessment task for the group project. So this, what you see here will disappear. Okay, it will pop up in your group. So that means your group member can submit. Only your group member can submit. Is that all right, Nathan? Okay. Yes. So that would be typically how I do it. So that allow you to look at the spec and have a chance of But that this should be clear by next week. When your group is created, assignment 4 should already be there. You shouldn't see the different, except that now only your group can see the submission of your own groups. Okay. But anyone can submit that, and you can submit as many copy as you want. Okay. So my rule is always only submit, only mark the latest one. Okay. So that means that if you just update your thing, you don't need to explain too much. Okay, you might write a little bit of text and say, okay, this is update version, but usually I look for the latest one. However, if your latest one is not good, it's not the one you want me to mark, then you need to let me know. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Let me stop recording for this one. Give me a sec. Hopefully my computer won't let me down. Just gonna go to my next lecture. Yeah. Lecture slide. Yeah, I have some problem with the computer this morning, so I having issue with